A Queens courtroom packed with police officers today at a hearing for the suspects involved in a deadly shooting of an officer from Long Island. You're watching Newsday TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Macy Eglund. 2 defendants have been indicted for the shooting that killed Officer Jonathan Diller. The alleged gunman, Guy Rivera, has been charged with murder in the shooting that happened exactly 1 week ago. The 34-year-old is still in the hospital. Lindy Jones is facing multiple weapons charges and is being held without bail. The 41-year-old was allegedly driving the car that was pulled over by police. Jonathan Diller from Massapequa Park was a husband and father to a 1-year-old son. He was posthumously promoted to detective. Thousands attended his funeral on Saturday. A Long Island couple has been indicted for manslaughter in the death of their baby. Steve Langford has those details.
Wilkins Adonis and Darrell LeBrock of Holbrook in Suffolk County Court Monday, charged with the drug overdose death of their 1-year-old child, Joseph, from a mixture of heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl, according to prosecutors.
Today, a superseding indictment has been unsealed, charging the parents, Wilkins Adonis and Darrell LeBrock, both aged 38, with new charges of manslaughter in the second degree for recklessly causing the death of baby Joseph.
January 3rd of this year, police and paramedics rushed to this apartment at Holbrook and found the baby boy unresponsive. Crime scene photos showing what authorities say were narcotics and drug paraphernalia in the bedroom where the child was located.
The amount of fentanyl that weighs what a rice grain weighs can kill an individual, can kill an adult. So even the most minute particles, residue, can seriously injure or kill, especially a child.
Both parents also face weapons charges. The indictment alleging a stun gun, a loaded shotgun, and a rifle were found in the apartment and accessible to the child, the district attorney says. Bail has been set for both parents at $500,000 cash, $1 million bond, or $5 million partially secured bond.
He's unlikely right now to make bail.
The attorney for Wilkins Adonis adding his client maintains his innocence. The attorney representing the baby's mother declined to comment. As adult fentanyl overdose deaths continue to increase in Suffolk County, the district attorney says he's afraid more young children could become accidental victims too.
This is a crisis.
Steve Langford for Newsday TV.
A man is recovering after he was shot during a home invasion on Easter. Sherry Einhorn has those details from Sayville.
A neighborhood now on edge after a burglary and shooting at a late-night card game on Easter left a victim hospitalized, 2 suspects in the wind, and a neighbor with a bullet hole in their house.
It's usually a real quiet block. Nothing ever happens here.
Here's what Suffolk police say happened Sunday night. 11 people were sitting around a card table here at 8 Greenbrier Lane a little before midnight when 2 masked men, one armed with a handgun, barged into the side door and stole cell phones, jewelry, and cash from them. As the suspects were leaving, police say the gunman shot someone who was walking into the card game twice, one bullet lodging into the siding of a neighbor's home.
Well, it is concerning. I don't know. I'll feel better when I hear a little bit more about it, as whether it was a targeted thing or a random thing.
Investigators are saying this home was targeted, confirming a similar incident happened 14 years ago during a poker game. Back in 2010, Newsday reported 2 men armed with knives and a pellet gun barged into the side door of the same home around 2:15 in the morning and stole cash, keys, and cell phones from the homeowner and 6 others. 2 people were arrested, but police say that case is sealed, so we have no other information.
We're certainly going to take a look at that incident, and at this point, I can't say it's connected. We haven't looked into it that closely yet, but it is the same house, same owner of the house.
The homeowner, Bruce Elias, declined to comment when reporters rang the doorbell. We did notice multiple cameras on the front and sides of his house, but police haven't released any surveillance photos, saying only that the suspects were wearing masks and gloves. They fled in a vehicle westbound on Greenbrier, but police haven't released a description of the car. Detectives want anyone with information to call Suffolk Crime Stoppers at 1-800-220-TIPS. I spoke with one longtime neighbor who asked us not to identify her, but she says everyone on the block knew about the frequent card games that happened here over the years and that nobody had a problem with it until now, she says. Now she says it has to stop because bullets are flying. In Sayville, I'm Shari Einhorn for Newsday TV.
A former principal has been charged with falsifying employment applications. The Nassau DA says Jessica Bader lied about stepping down from a position instead of facing criminal charges or getting fired. The 52-year-old woman was suspended after an alleged inappropriate relationship with a student. She was the principal at James H. Vernon School in Oyster Bay. Bader pleaded not guilty today and will appear back in court next week. Only in Newsday, the MTA has set a new record, but critics say it's not one to be proud of. Ken Buffa and Alfonso Castillo look at the agency's overtime pay.
Alfonso, MTA overtime numbers, they're pretty high and essentially a new record. So what's going on?
Yeah, so back in 2018, the MTA set a record with $1.38 billion in overtime costs. That number triggered investigations, indictments, convictions, and all kinds of promises from the MTA for reforms to bring those costs down. And they did come down for a number of years. Last year, in 2022, went up a little, and 2023 now it's up quite a bit, up to $1.42 billion.
Which is a new record, essentially.
That's right. Yep.
So what happened to those promises? What happened to the reform? How do we get here?
The MTA says essentially nothing has changed. The reforms are still in place. There are some things that are out of their control. The biggest driver of overtime in 2023 were absences and vacancies in New York City Transit. These are bus and subway workers, and when people aren't showing up for work or those jobs aren't filled, they got to fill them on overtime. The other big thing that happened last year was the opening of Grand Central Madison, an entire new operation, a new terminal for the Long Island Railroad that has to be staffed every day. That's required a lot of overtime too.
So what happens next?
Well, the biggest changes will come through collective bargaining. You know, the MTA can make a lot of reforms to kind of take care of some of the issues kind of around the edges. But when you're talking about making a meaningful difference, a lot of this overtime is baked into union work rules that go back centuries and aren't going to be given up easily. The MTA is negotiating some contracts now. This has always been a real sticking point, how serious they are about changing some of these work rules, and we'll see how serious they are.
All right. Alfonso Castillo, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can read more about the overtime on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. In sports, the Mets' Tylor Megill has been placed on the injured list. The team says the pitcher has a right shoulder strain. Megill pitched 4 innings in Sunday's 4-1 loss to the Brewers. The Mets are playing the Detroit Tigers tonight. These newlyweds are having a ball. They just got married at a local bowling alley. Drew Scott has the story you'll see only in Newsday.
A bowling alley isn't a place that you expect to witness a wedding. But that's exactly what happened at Bolero in Melville, where Billy Boccassini and Melanie Callahan said, "I do."
You are so passionately caring. You are so thoughtful.
I promise to always try and be calm and rational and talk through our differences. You may kiss your bride.
NerdWallet says the average wedding costs more than $30,000 these days, but Billy and Melody say the cost of this wedding just bowled them over.
The happy couple met at a school for kids with special needs in Smithtown. They're saving to buy a house, so one of their concerns was keeping costs down. They were able to get all of this done with a little more than $10,000.
And we also wanted a place that had all the things that we needed to have, like a lot of the traditional things you do have for the wedding, but in a different kind of venue.
I found it online, and then I was like, that sounds like a really fun way to get married instead of having all the attention on you.
Billy and Melanie describe themselves as fun lovers and shy. Family members say this marriage was right up their alley.
It's them, and
their personality.
Right, exactly. And it's like, this is what they both wanted. They wanted something simple and fun.
I think that's one of the big driving factors behind it, is that they wanted to be able to buy a house. And in this economy, you need to save every bit that you can.
After the affirmations, instead of a first dance, there was a first bowl. The groom promised no gutter balls.
I think it turned out pretty cool. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this.
In Melville, Drew Scott for Newsday TV.
For more stories that'll make you smile, go to our website, newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. All right, let's talk about your Long Island forecast now. Tonight, we cooled down, dropping down to about 43 degrees or so, mostly cloudy. And tomorrow, that rain starts to roll in the morning. Highs around 49 degrees. Let's take a look at that day planner so you can time out that rain. Unfortunately, though, we have to get used to it because taking a look at your 7-day, the first week of April is really a soggy start. Rain until Thursday. But for now, it looks like we'll clear out for the weekend.
Long Island weather is brought to you by Home Tax Saver, PTRC Incorporated.
You're watching Newsday TV. I'm Macy Eglund. Thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great night.